And we are away. So, welcome everybody to LinkedIn for Breakfast, our little slice of marketing madness every single week, where we deliver another little piece of magic. Hopefully, you can add into your funnel, or in today's perspective, actually just taking a little bit of a zoom out and looking end to end in terms of how you're structuring your business. And I'm excited to be able to share a few of these ideas with you today. So got a couple of little different angles. If you've seen this before, there'll be some new elements to this presentation because I do like to do this presentation a few times a year just to kind of get people to keep on coming back and thinking about this in a little bit more deeper each time. So double your income and work half the time. Before we get started, our mission here at LinkedIn for Breakfast is to be able to create a place where you can really help to unlock the full potential of LinkedIn as a powerhouse for both business development and brand expansion. And although the title is a little bit more kind of strategic, I will be weaving in how this actually relates to LinkedIn as we go. So for LinkedIn only fans, we are going to deliver on that. And also our vision for this is to try and make this the best place on earth for you to be able to learn LinkedIn for free. So tell your friends, there is no sales pitch coming, so you can rest easy. This is all about us trying to be able to make this the best place for you to be able to grow both brand expansion, that's people knowing you and recognizing you on LinkedIn, as well as the lead generation piece. And I've got a really cool kind of example of that in terms of the content that I've been doing that have been getting up and close to over 100,000 impressions in terms of the posts that we've been putting out recently. And they are a blend of brand expansion and lead generation. So stay tuned for that part of the presentation. I'll be throwing some numbers at you today. And so it's going to get a little bit deep at points, but just stay with me and we will be recording this and we will be circulating this recording. So hopefully it will help. So I hope you're ready for a little bit of a deep dive. Because we've got this recording, Flora's going to put in the chat right now our LinkedIn for Breakfast link to our community. If you're not inside this free community, do jump into here because the replays are going to be here. The swipe files are going to be in here. There's loads of other resources that are referenced throughout the presentation that you can go and grab. Again, it's going to cost exactly my favorite number, which is zero. So you guys can all jump in here. Okay. Right. So double income and work half the time. And the second part of today is that we want to take some questions from you. So please feel free to be able to really lean into that question piece and actually rip apart the presentation and help me to apply this as well as possible to your unique situation. So I love this Alice in Wonderland quote, and I always start with this because she kind of comes down the rabbit hole and finds the Cheshire Cat, and she doesn't know where she's going, right? And we kind of can feel a little bit like that in life and business. And of course, the grinning Cheshire Cat goes, "Well, where are you going?" Alice is saying, "Well, I don't know." And so the cat says, "Well, it doesn't matter because if you don't know where you're going, any road's going to take you there." And I just think that's so true. If you don't know where you're going, all the social media, you go, well, which social media platform should I use? Well, what are you trying to achieve in your business? Well, I'm not really quite sure. Well, all of them will work then, or none of them will work. It doesn't matter what type of shiny thing, if you, that's where we get caught in the shiny thing piece because we haven't really got a strong plan and a destination of where we're going to get there. And we just get lost amongst those shiny things. So what we're going to do is find out that destination because if we want to double our income, well, actually, do we want to double? Or do we just need to know exactly the income figure we want to be able to get to with our business? Okay, so what we've got to look at then is these four elements. What is the target that we're going to go to? What do you need to sell in order to reach that target? How do you then optimize your time to be able to achieve that? So working half the amount of hours you already are to be able to achieve the target that we hope is going to be stretching you, even doubling where you are now. And then how do we start stage one, which is get the leads? Because everything then falls downhill from those leads, right? So that's the four things we're going to cover. Step number one, what is your target, my pedigree chums? Well, we have created a little bit of a swipe file here. So if I'm just going to put this into the chat, and there's a bit of a recording here and a step-by-step walkthrough. So if I take you into this, this will be the page that you get to. So here there's a replay and a video that will help you. But ultimately, it's this: access the Google Sheet template on how to work out your target income. If you click here, it's going to take you to this Google Sheet. And so the whole point of this Google Sheet is for you to be able to just use it as a template. Literally, look at the target income goals and all the stuff that you need to buy. So the one-off cost, deposits, monthly fees. And what we're trying to do is work out what your monthly repayments are or your monthly costs are for things like your holidays. So if you took your 10 grand holiday and divided it by 12 months, then you need to be spending £833 per month saving up for it, right? Similar with, say, you've got a gym or gardeners or disposable income. What I want you to all do is just go through this and just complete this as best as you can because what we're trying to find, and you may already know what it is, but we're trying to find this for the ideal lifestyle, right? So not like the bare minimum, just scraping by, but somewhere where you want to feel really rewarded by working hard in your business. You feel rewarded by being able to have this target figure. And so you can see here, so we've got to a £14,000 per month target figure for this. Now, using the system that I'm going to show you in a second, which is based upon the great book Profit First, you can take home out of your small service sector business 50% of profit from that business. Now, not every business is going to be able to achieve that. Some people have got far higher costs, but a lot of the service sector business we work with, this is definitely achievable, and I'll show you why. So, what we're essentially saying is that you could achieve this £28,000 revenue figure for your business. So your business would need to turn over 28 grand per month for you to be able to take out £14,000 per month. And in this example, that actually means that, we talk a lot about the $1 million sprint. That's one of the things we help our clients to be able to do. Well, in this instance, to be able to achieve the goals of this ideal lifestyle, we would only actually need to achieve 336,000 because the annual revenue would then mean that we'd have 28,000 per month. And if we had 28,000 per month, half of that becomes 14,000, right? And so that's 14,000 that would go to you after tax. So let me draw this because it's important that we get this structure right. So Profit First talks about having these different silos, using something like a Starling Bank in the UK. If you're using it, you can put these little hoppers, these little pots. And if you had your business accounts that were set up like this, where you would have your income account and the cash would come into this income account. Now, if you're doing 300 odd grand per month, sorry, 300 per grand per year, you're going to have to be VAT registered. So 120% of revenue would go into your income account because that's your money that you've done plus the VAT on top, right? So immediately what we've got to do is we've got to do a VAT account out the side and we've got to put 20% of that aside. So just put 20% straight into that VAT account, right? And so now we've got 100% that's left in our income account. So then what we do is we divide out that income account into these other little pots. And these pots are divided into four. So the first thing is OPEX, right? So this is your operational expenses. So that's things like your VAs, that's things like your ads, that's things like, any costs involved in terms of delivering your product or service. And this is vitally important because this is what you need to feed the business. This is your work that you're doing. But if you make it only 30% of your revenue, then mass is the Parkinson's theory, right? Mass expands the room that you give it. So if you only squeeze it to 30% of revenue, then it will stop you from overspending because you know that you only have this much in here. So that's perfect. So you also at the same time, every time, so I do this twice a month, I just take the money that's in this income account and I divide it out into all these pots. And it means that I can then make sure that we're not overspending. So I put 15% away of revenue into a tax account. Now, a lot of you would be like, oh, well, corporation tax is 25%. It's 25% of profit. So I put 15% of entire business revenue. And so that means in the tax account, there's that money there, which is perfect. Then I do have a profit account, but actually the profit account, strangely, profit is only 5%. And what we do with this profit is we actually leave this in the business. This is the retained profit. This is the rainy day. This is the if the proverbial hits the fan type pot, and it just sits there accruing money in there at 5%. So this is the stuff that makes you feel sort of warm and fuzzy, that if there's a problem in your business, you're going to have the cash there. And then the final part is your owner's comp, right? And the owner's comp is 50% as promised, right? So half of the money that you're making goes into that account. But the keen kind of accountants among us would go, well, actually, what about income tax from that? And so what we'll see here is that if we're taking half out the business, then that actually means that, we would have, if you're only having paying 25% on half your business, you would actually have an excess if you had 15% of entire revenue. So you would have an excess in that tax account. And then, so this is your income. So your income tax. So this is a internally within your own personal bank accounts. Now, you'd want to put money away from income tax, that's your personal income tax. So you put some of your tax that's the excess of your corporation tax. Once you pay your corporation tax, gets paid into your income tax pot. And also, you don't pay all of the VAT because anything that you buy here that's actually you're paying VAT on, you can reclaim that VAT and the excess also goes into this income tax. So basically, your corporation tax excess and your VAT tax excess pays your personal income tax. And it works out there or thereabouts. There will obviously be a few little nuances. It won't be perfect, but it means that you can pretty much take home 50% after tax. So that is really worth thinking about and actually rewatching this and maybe actually dividing this out and spending a bit more time thinking about that because it's a really lovely way to cash account for your business so you know that you don't run out. Now, here's the cool thing. So now that we feel like we're trusting this and we're going, right, let's get our business revenue up to this 28,000 because that's going to give me this ideal lifestyle, then what do I need to sell? So now we're getting into the sort of second part of this. So you then need to work out what is the client average lifetime spend. Let me just zoom in a little bit more here for you guys so you can see these bits. So I'm looking here. So what is the client average 12-month value, right? So on average, my client might spend, for example, £4,500 per year with me. And why have I got that in yellow? Well, it means that say the cost, for example, is 3K for a 6-month campaign, and 50% of your clients roll on and do the second 6 month, right? So that means your average would be 4,500, right? So it's a very crude way of doing it. If you've got multiple products, just add up all the revenue and then divide by the number of clients you got to get the average per year. So you can find that, even though you're going to be like, oh, well, some of my clients only spend little amounts and some of them pay more, just work it out because it will also show you, and I'll tell you in a second about how maybe you should refine and get your product suite a little bit more narrow around some more high ticket clients, right? So here you go. So 4,500. So if I needed to achieve this, how many sales would I need to make per week to be able to achieve this 28,000? Well, I'd only need 1.5 sales a week. Whoa, hang on. That's pretty cool. So now actually I'm going, well, only 1.5 sales a week. Okay, I could do that. So that's only 6 sales per month, which means that I only need to get 74 clients in a year. Okay, well, 74 clients in a year seems quite big. So now suddenly I've got to think about, well, actually, my product does need to be scalable. I can't be delivering one-to-one for 74 people. So I need to think about that. But at the same time, to make 1.5 sales a week is very doable. So that's quite cool. So now we think about, well, how many demos do I need? And what I mean by demos, it means sales appointments. So it's people actually coming to do a sales appointments. Well, if I sell one client in every 3 appointments that I do, then that means I need to book in 4.5 sales appointments per week to be able to achieve my 1.5 sales. Okay. So that means I'm going to need to get 18 odd sales appointments per month. I can do that. 4.5 a week. That's not even one a day, right? So that's cool. And now I go, well, actually, not everybody turns up to every sales appointment. So there will always be a no-show rate. So if I have 3 people that show up for every 4 appointments booked, so I have basically a 3 in 4 show up rate, that means that's 1.33, right? So that means I would need to have 6.2 appointments booked per month. So let's just say, sorry, per week. So let's say I need 6 appointments booked per week. So I now need to have 4.5 people show up per week. So I need to have 6 bookings per week. So obviously over the course of the month, the half, you can't have half a meeting, but over the course of the month, it will kind of work out. You know where we're going with this. So now that's quite cool. So it's only 6 appointments I need to be able to actually book into my diary. Right. So now I need to work out, well, how many leads do I need? Okay. So if I know for every 5 leads that I get in, so that's people that are kind of inquiring about what we do, or people that are subscribing to my stuff or coming to my events, for every 5 people, I get someone booking in. Well, that means I need 30 leads per week. Right. So now we know 30 leads per week, 6 appointments, 4.5 people actually show up, and then 1.5 sales. That is my funnel. That is my leads into appointments, into actually pitches, into sales. That's my actual funnel and I can see it. So now I just need to sort out the lead gen, right? Because everything else is downhill from there. So if I go and look at this, I go, right, here's where I get my leads from. So you need to kind of then brainstorm, where do my leads actually come from? And so you can start to do the maths around this. So if I need to get 31, and I go, well, actually, I need to look at my ads. And so maybe I'm doing my ads, and how many do I get from cold email? And so I get maybe 4 leads from what I always say is work out the other things and then add ads, because you're going to pay per lead then. Ads are really nice levers that you can pull, because you just tweak up the budget, you get more, tweak them down again. The other things are a little bit more sporadic. But say you might have other, which is like going to a breakfast networking meeting, you get a couple of leads per week from there. Maybe you get some from your warming up emails. So if you've got an email list, maybe you might get some from organic social. Maybe get some from LinkedIn outreach, like DMing. And then, of course, you can use your ads. And so when you start to look at this, you go, great, this is the story of this. And then I go, well, actually, I only need 31, so 38. So I could actually reduce down the amount of ads that I need. So I don't need 19 now. I might just need 15, and that gives me my 34, which is kind of closer, but it also reduces down how many more leads that I need. So there's only 136 leads per month that I need to acquire to make this happen. Now I know that this is still, it's kind of a lot of things to be able to be working on, but it's the machine. Once you know what the target is, like the Cheshire Cat, then you've got a road that can help you to get there. Okay, so last bit on this spreadsheet piece, just to kind of, because I know it's quite heavy. I did warn you on the number stuff. But how much is it going to cost? So for example, if you had like a VA that's going to help you to do your LinkedIn outreach, so send cold email outreach and do DMing to people, and maybe post on social once a day for you, and also send out some cold email, right? So that might be a VA that's working, say, half a day for you, right? So to give you an idea, and obviously, there is no sales pitch here, but just, one of the things that we do offer is VAs. You can have a VA that works just half time, half a day, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week for £350 a month. So you would be able to literally go, that person is generating those leads. Okay, cool. Well, then I'll just divide that by 3. So my cost per month is £116 for each one of those channels. So I'm spending £116 on cold email, £116 on LinkedIn outreach, £116 on organic social. And so now I can actually see, well, that's how much per week I'm spending. And so now I've got a cost per lead, because I'm just dividing what my actual leads are by that cost. And then if I go onto my ad campaign and I start buying ads that can generate me leads at, say, £4, £5 a lead, then that's the top up that I need to be able to achieve these 15 leads. And so if I looked at my actual cost per week, that would be £155. And my cost per month to achieve these 136 leads would be £620. So my friends, what does this actually mean? Well, the cost per month, if you get this nailed, is 15% of one sale. One client, average 4.5 grand. If you get this nailed, you're only spending 15%. So you can crank the volume of this because you've got this whole pipeline worked out, because you know exactly what you're trying to achieve. And it's almost, you would have to kind of rein in the lead generation if you don't want to grow so quickly, if you just want to stay in that nice revenue piece, because you don't have to necessarily go more than that. You could just stay at that level because you've got this whole thing locked in. And that is the beauty of knowing what the numbers are and how this works, right? Get it? Cool. Okay. Cool. Right. So we're going to kind of come out a little bit more into the strategy, because it's great just putting it on paper, but now we've got to deliver it, right? And so let's come back to our presentation, just make sure we are on track. So then we still talk about, well, look, and what should we sell? So let's start at 4.5 grand. Now, a lot of people will tell you to have this kind of ascension model, right? To have this kind of lead magnet and then this initial offer of like £10, and then this first tier of like 100 quid, and then this second tier of £1,000, and then this top tier of like £1,000 a month or whatever it is, right? And what I've realized with this is that it's literally the worst thing for people, particularly if you're in and around that 300k per year or below mark, to be doing. It's an absolute like complete distraction. I think this is completely wrong. And what you really want to be doing is you want to be doing something called F2F, which is not face to face, but it's free to flagship. So what we mean is you blow people's minds with free, right? Give them something unbelievably good for free, and then sell them just one solution, just one flagship product, because you've got their attention. And what tends to happen when you've got people who go onto this ascension model is that they'll buy this initial offer, they'll buy your second tier offer, and then they'll kind of go, well, I've given you a couple of chances here. You're not really solving my pain. And then they'll spin off and go and buy somebody else's flagship product somewhere else for double the amount of money. And you're like, but I had that thing in my top tier. And they're like, well, I've given you two chances already and it wasn't there. Plus, in terms of optimizing for time, this tiered system means that you're having to deliver for three different client types on three different tiers, and you'll have three different types of client that is asking for your time, which means that you're completely split. Whereas if you had one amazing thing that you could do for free each week and one amazing thing that you do for your clients in terms of delivery per week or as a product, then you can totally optimize yourself within that model. So don't do that. Work free to flagship. Okay. So how do you get the leads, right? So in terms of getting these leads, let's have a look at this. What we want to do is we want to look at this kind of power of one. Okay, so we talk about trying to build awareness. So have one place where you can really spend time getting people to become aware of you. So from my perspective, if you just spent all your time thinking about trying to get great content out on LinkedIn, then that's going to really help with your cold email marketing, because you can be emailing out to your LinkedIn target database. Your LinkedIn outreach can really help there, and we'll see that content, as well as when I say Facebook ads at the top up, I'm not asking you to do a Facebook marketing campaign, because it actually doesn't matter. Facebook ads really don't care about you having actual loads of content on your Facebook. They're just going to care about the ad. So the ads can still be sitting there building leads, but just focus your one piece of awareness just on one social media platform. And I would recommend LinkedIn because it works really well. And the reason why I think it works really well is that you can transition people easily into your consideration asset, which is what I would call your weekly moment. So let me draw this out for you. We jump onto this whiteboard, or back onto the whiteboard. Okay, so let's get rid of that and jump into here. So if we are trying to get people from awareness, so this is on LinkedIn, and we're trying to build out a connection, a set of connections that we're going out to LinkedIn outreach. We're maybe going to message them on LinkedIn. We're kind of sending them emails, and we're driving them. We're doing posts all into this target demographic. You might be a sales navigator type search that you're doing, and you're trying to get them all to get attention into your consideration, right? And your consideration is what we would call your weekly moment. So this could be a newsletter that you're doing. This could be an event like this one that you do each week. It could be a long form video or a live you do, but just by having one focal point, having one moment, this is vitally important. You want to drag people into this because it's your one place to be able to wow people. That's why I'm still doing this in Spain when I'm on family holiday, because it's the one place I need to show up, because I've got plenty of systems and plenty of people in my team that are running around and working their particular pieces of my funnel, or working their particular pieces of the business. But the one place that I show up each week is this weekly moment. And so all our marketing is constantly, the lead generation is going into this weekly moment. We're then giving people a great experience at this weekly moment. So it's our powerful one thing for free each week. And then the next piece is convert. So awareness, consider, convert. This is where you then offer a one-to-one. So this is your sales meeting, but actually don't do a sales meeting, do a value session. And what we mean by a value session, it's a one-to-one place where you can add additional value. So you can give them, so for example, they might be doing a weekly moment on how to do SEO, right? And then you can say to people, hey, if you want to have a free website conversion optimization audit where we'll go and look at your website together and we'll give you like a 7-step plan on how you can generate more leads from your website. Just book here. That's a value session because in that session you're going to give them 7 tips which they can go away themselves and go do on their own. But if just if they thought, well, this was really good, potentially this could be something that you might just do for me because I haven't got enough time or I value your experience more, then that's where you can say, okay, cool, well, here's my offer. And then, of course, once you've got your offer, then you can start to do the final stage, which is delivery. So if they say, yes, we want to go and do that, then you can then transition them through to become a client. So the power of one is one social network, one weekly moment, one value session, and then one flagship product. That will seriously cut down the amount of time that you're having to spend. And also, you'll get good at it. So if I show you my sort of posts that I've been doing recently, just because I spend my entire time on LinkedIn, instead of having to worry about doing TikTok and YouTube and all the rest of it, it means that I can go down and put together posts that start to get over 100,000 impressions, right? And these posts aren't just any old post that's trying to get views. So, for example, one might be more like a brand awareness. So this piece here is me having a rant about people putting flags on bridges, and saying that I don't support it for the thing that they're saying, but actually giving a solution for it. So this is like brand awareness, right? So this is lots of people talking about it, commenting, having a conversation around it. Whereas the other posts that surround that, because obviously if you get lots of views on one post, then you'll get views on your next few posts. Then I've got one here where I'm giving away a free AI bot to help people review their LinkedIn profile, right? So this is very much a call to action with a gift. Of course, we then message those people and then invite them if they want to have a one-to-one with us or want to come along to this event. It allows me to, this is awareness. So if we get back into this, right? So these sort of posts are all in awareness, right? And it means that I can have power of one call to action to say, hey, thanks so much for that. Why don't you pop into my weekly event? Or thanks so much. Do you want to come along? Because if we know that they've seen a few of our awareness pieces and they're ready, do you want to have a value session? That awareness allows us to know exactly what the journey is. And if it goes back to when we talked about here, where you're just paying say $350 a month for a VA, that VA, when you think about these cold email and this LinkedIn outreach and this organic social, these are the channels that they're managing. And when you get a post that does well like this, and you get 1,500 comments, you haven't got time to comment back and to then go into the DMs and to have a conversation in the DMs and then transition people into an event or transition people into a one-to-one. That's where they come in. So not only can they help you post it and put the strategy together, but they also can help you to do the DMs and the commenting and manage that from a perspective, because it would become a full-time job just to manage this many comments and this much interaction, right? And so the whole point of this is blending awareness pieces, so thought leadership pieces, things that will get conversation going, with call to action pieces. So here, I've built 32 custom GPTs in our business and counting. Examples below. This is a call to action into an event, right? So this one is a call to action post, 31,000 impressions. Would I've got that many thousand impressions if I wasn't also doing, awareness pieces, which is this has got absolutely no call to action. It's just a thought leadership piece, but I knew it would get conversations. Same as this one, me ranting about the wealth tax potentially coming in. That's just me just ranting about something. There's no call to action, but it's getting impressions. So this is one that's actually got a call to action. So I'm interweaving impressions for awareness into these kind of call to action type posts that transition people into the next stage. And that's only because I've been able to spend time to get good at knowing what works well on the algorithm, what my audience would be interested in, and taking a keen interest in that. And then having a team behind me who can just help to make all these little lines go as quickly as possible. So then we can then transition people through the funnel. And then of course that gives us the ability to give a better for me to show up in the places I should do. I show up here with ideas for content. I show up here to deliver the weekly moments. I show up here when I'm delivering value sessions. I show up here when I deliver clients, but I'm only spending a few hours here. So that's the work half your time. So I hope, my friends, this has given you a really nice idea of exactly having a structure and a system and knowing where you're going can really help. And almost sort of painting by numbers, having the strategy together, and then focusing just on one place to be able to build that awareness, one weekly moment, one value session, and ideally one flagship product. Cool. All right, my pedigree chums. That is my kind of rant, if you like. I want to take some questions. One of the best ways to ask a question, if you've got one, is to use the reaction button and just stick up like the digital raise your hand piece like that. That could be really good. And I'll also try and find something within the chat as well. But there's a few questions in there about will this be recorded and shared? Yes, it will be in the school group. Who's got any specific questions around that? I know there's quite a lot going in there. Okay, Elena, over to you.
Mine is a little bit of a different question. Is starting your business, how much would you invest as a separate pot just going into your business before you say, oh, I need to top that up or.
Well, you don't have to invest anything to start a business. That's the beauty of it. I mean, you might have to pay for registering on Company House if you wanted to have a limited company, but even need to set one of those up. The point is LinkedIn's free to use. So you can use that. You can create it. It depends on if you need any raw setup cost because of what you're delivering requires it. But you don't need to. That's the beauty of business. Now, if you wanted to go further and actually buy in resources and saying, right, I just don't know how to do this lead generation stuff. I want to go buy something for that. Then that's totally cool. And you almost put yourself into sort of a 6 month accelerator to say, right, I just want to go and do this. Let's make this thing rock and roll. But most of us just need a laptop and a phone, and you can get rocking and rolling. What type of business are you running?
So it's online personalized therapy for IBS patients.
Yeah, so it's online, right? It's personalized. So all you need to find is the patients.
Yeah, which is hard.
Yeah, exactly. But then that's becomes thought leadership. And then so when you're thinking about this, if you can start to talk about your subject matter and get awareness, it takes one post to be able to get 100,000 people looking at it and more if the
Yeah.
post is right. And then from there you get the comments. Once you get the comments, then you can start to transition the conversations. So just by knowing what to post and how to post can really help. These are the sort of conversations, by the way, guys, and actually these kind of real life examples is what we'd like to do. And if anybody is thinking, oh, I'm not quite sure about how LinkedIn would work for me, and I'm not quite sure if I'm doing the right thing, if I've got the right strategy, and I'd love to be able to see kind of what Richard does. If you did want to book a free review of your LinkedIn profile and your LinkedIn strategy, it's totally for free. We'll actually sit there and go through step by step what's going on with your header, what's going on with your banner, what's your look of your LinkedIn profile picture like, what are you doing with your feature sections. We've got a free session that you can book one-to-one with me or one of my team. And I'll just pop it up here. Give me 2 seconds. All my tabs are in the wrong place. Hang on. Where is it? Here we go. Here we go. Okay, good stuff. So I'm just going to put this into the chat now. It's totally free and one-to-one. And when you click on it, it will look like this. There's not masses of these sessions, guys. We limit them each week. You can see, oh, hello. I stopped shared then. I thought I'd actually close down the event. You can see that there's a couple tomorrow. There's one on Friday, and then we're into next month. So there's not huge amounts. So if you've got a business and
Seems like our host disappeared. Is it for everyone or
Yeah, it seems that way. Yeah.
holidays are tricky to call from, definitely.
Oh, it looks like he's back, I think.
This way.
Yes,
Oh,
he's back.
sorry. Oh, the best laid plans. I think the Spanish were having a siesta then and they pulled my internet out, so I do apologize. Gethin, over to you. Question.
Yes. So I think it's more advice and guidance, really. So simplifying the offer. One of the challenges that we face is that we ramp up lead generation using some of the methods that you talked about today. But the difficulty that we have is we're offering product design consultancy, and every single project that we work on is different. We have a stage process that we go through to for our clients to walk them through from a concept right the way through to something that's been manufactured. But there's always a really steep learning curve. There's always a different set of technical challenges that we have to deal with in every instance. And so when we've really gone full throttle and we've generated loads of leads, it's just absolute chaos behind the scenes because
Yeah.
delivering on those projects, it just becomes it's exhausting and it's difficult to coordinate amongst a team. So trying to boil down the offer into something which is more repeatable is a challenge at the moment that we're kind of trying to work through.
I think you've got it. You're getting close there. So when I had my digital marketing agency, which is the business we scaled and sold, we were so proud of ourselves. We were a full digital marketing, full service, end to end. You know, didn't matter if you wanted business card designs all the way through to sort of high end e-commerce website builds and SEO projects, right? So we'd do the lot. And that was what we thought our USP, right? But obviously, you know, as we now know, being everything to everyone means you're nothing to no one. So it wasn't a USP. So we then put together, which is where you're at the moment, which is great, a step-by-step process, right? We called it the Digital Trailblazer Process. It became the book that I launched. And that meant that people then came to us and, oh, okay, I can see how you've got this kind of from you know cradle to kind of launch process of here's the 11 steps. We had 11 steps. It's probably too many 11, but we had 11. And so that was the product. So people brought that one product, and it meant that we then were able to recruit specialists into each stage of the hopper, and we were able to create Trello boards that were like a copy and paste for each new client. It was like, right, they're in this stage. Now, each stage could be a little bit messy because obviously everything's bespoke. So for yours, it might be idea stage, it might be then sign off designs, might be then move to this. But at least you knew where people were in those hoppers, and you could then recruit someone to be the manager of that. And one of the things that we did was we actually recruited work working mums or part-time mums. What we realized and back then was that there were plenty of, and I say mums, it happened to be that way, but there was plenty of people who just wanted to work 10 till 2, which is kind of when the kids were at school. And if we could offer a role that was 4 days a week, 10 till 2, we could get really good quality people who had worked in the city on big marketing agency campaigns before, but didn't want to go full time, didn't want to commute into London, who would come and work in our little office in Bagshot in Surrey. And they were brilliant quality, but an absolute deal in terms of getting them on board. And they became our campaign managers. So each client that came on board would have a really high quality person to campaign manage them all the way through those process. And the beauty of that meant that I no longer was dragged into those meetings. And I then popped out the top of delivery because I had some great people who were campaign managing the delivery. And I was then able to focus on sales. And then that allowed us to drive the sales. And then I ultimately popped out the top of sales because I brought some great salespeople on in a similar type of recruitment process. And before you know it, and we're also, I'm at that point before I started to realize how the type of outsourcing model that we use currently, we were offshoring over to the Philippines and into India to do a lot of the build stuff. So we had kind of UK based campaign managers outsource Philippines and India in terms of delivery stuff, and then me doing the sales piece. And that was a beautiful model, and the clients really liked it because we had speed and volume offshore. We had hearts and minds onshore, and from my perspective, it meant that it was all kind of managed, and I didn't have to worry about it.
Okay. Okay.
And it was cost effective, which is obviously another important piece.
Mm.
Do you think that kind of structure would work?
So the difference so what you're explaining there that probably we don't do at the moment is that one individual or maybe two individuals are responsible for all of the phases, but it sounds as if you've got really clearly defined silos of responsibility that go from one to another, which would enhance productivity, I imagine. And we certainly don't work like that, like that at the moment. So yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah, good. Okay, and obviously, it's, it when you get into the nuance there, and this is so I saw that Piers was saying that he was also asking a question here as well. When you're in $1 million sprint, which you are, and Piers is about to be, welcome by the way. And then this is the free for everybody session. Straight after this, 3 o'clock UK time, and also Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, there is a session which is a lot smaller group of us, which is where we're doing then. This is just the session just after this on the hour is just pure me dropping clinic, answering any questions, getting help and support. So we can go even further on that. You could even share some slides with us. We can go and have a look at it. We can deep dive into that as well. So that will really help as well. So it's cool.
Thank you.
Great stuff, no worries at all. Right, guys, I'm going to take Evie's question, but before I do, just do remember the journey starts with this session that we talked about here. So if you haven't booked one of those, and thank you guys for the ones that have this round robin session. We've already got my phone is going off. Yeah, I can see already that we've lost Friday. We've got a couple tomorrow, and there's also a number in September that have already been booked. So it's in the chat again there, guys. So do jump into that. It's worth it in terms of just getting the strategy and the plan applied to you. So do jump in there. Evie, over to you.
Yeah. So I already booked the one-to-one for tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Fantastic.
So I have a question because you said about providing the value for free, and doing the posts, but my clients are quite specialized. I don't think right now in my I'm starting. So in my network, there's not a lot of people that match the criteria for my client. So I'm thinking more that I will kind of message them and provide value in a message. So I was thinking I would find, because I'm doing UX UI design for the educational SaaS companies, which it's quite narrow, I would say. So I don't think it will be that much that will come to me organically, I think. So I was more thinking about specific clients and then doing the message quite specific to them and then kind of doing this way. But then also obviously more time required for that. But then I don't know if organically it will work if it's
one thing's for sure. If you don't try it, it definitely won't work.
true.
So the big thing that I would say is that educational SaaS is a massive industry, and there'll be loads of people who are doing incredibly well organically on LinkedIn and other platforms because there is just so much information, and it's also very visual, right? That you could put out. So there's amazing people who've done incredibly well through doing that. So I would argue that actually content could be a really key piece. Here's a good example. Do you think that they're normally quite senior, quite hard to get hold of, these type of people that you want to go and work with?
Yeah. I mean, they're busy for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. But these people usually have quite a lot to say. And so one of the great strategies we talk about is actually doing a podcast outreach strategy. So you create a podcast to say, hey, I'm going to be launching this podcast. And it's going to be around actual SaaS, the kind of the SaaS, edge SaaS, or edge tech industry. And we're going to go and interview all the top movers and shapers within there, right? You then go and reach out to them, invite them. It's what we call the tickle them under the chin strategy, because you're kind of stroking their ego to say, hey, we want you to be on our podcast. You then do the podcast with them. And of course, before you start recording the podcast, you can be saying to them, hey, what are you doing? Oh, this is me. This is you. Okay. So they get to know you. And then afterwards, you record the episode. You go back to them and say, here's the episode. And then you look back to them and say, hey, look, we're looking to take on a few more people into our network. Wondered if you'd be interested in us working on some of your projects or whatever it is, and then you can pitch to them, right? So it's a great way of getting into that. And of course, that becomes your organic content strategy. And it's not there for just people who are interested in UX that are going to be interested in those thought leaders within the edge tech industry. It will be loads of people. So therefore, you would get lots of potential reach on your content.
I'm not sure I'm that brave yet, but I will think about it. One thing.
It doesn't take much. Do you know what the nice thing about sending 100 invites to people to go and invite them to a podcast is that one of them might say yes, and then you've got to then do it, right? It's like jumping out the plane without the parachute, and you've got to kind of build it on the way down. Once you've sent those messages, the ball's in play, and you then it's almost kind of it's everything's going to feel nervous. But it's better to feel nervous about something that's actually happening than to sit there worrying about it and not doing something about it.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you very much.
No worries. No worries. Good luck with it. Back into the room, guys. Happy to take another question. People have got them. More than happy to. Was there anything in the chat? Because I've missed that when I came out. And a few people asking about the recordings and the replays and stuff. The link, I think Flora has sent. Yeah, so there's a link in there which goes to the recordings. Any other questions that we've got here, gang? I've lost it because I came out. Sarah, over to you.
Yeah. How far ahead should you really think about when you're looking at numbers? Because numbers also equals time, doesn't it? So, for example, what I do group work, but I also do one-to-ones, and I sort of think with my optimistic head on, getting to that point where you just don't have enough time for the one-to-ones. So do you think of your flagship with that in mind, or is it like that's the first Cheshire Cat, and then when you get to near capacity, you've got another Cheshire Cat later on?
Yeah, there's do you know what? When I first started coaching, after I sold my business, I was like, right, it's all one-to-one. And I ended up getting 15 one-to-one clients that I saw twice a month, and it killed me. Like there was no time to do anything. It was horrible. And so I then launched a group program and then moved a number of them into that. And then I just sold the group program because I had to, because I was so full. So there's something about this energy that goes, I actually can't take you on as a one-to-one client. So this is the best thing. But then I realized that I could try and make the group program even better than one-to-one. So there would be drop-ins, there would be I included obviously VAs within my group program and started to actually do some done for you stuff. And before you know it, actually the thing became even better that a number of my one-to-one clients then said, oh, can I actually be in that? And before you know, I transition them across. So you can artificially create that. So what you do is you work out what is the revenue that you want per month, and you go, right, how much of that's going to come from one-to-one? And so if we're going to do £1,000 per month per person for one-to-one, for example, and you want to get to 14K, well, why don't you sell, I don't know, 7 slots of the one-to-one? So now I've only got 7 one-to-one clients that I can do. And then let's go and create a group program that's going to have, 14 people paying £500 a month in it. Now I've got my 14K, or however, and then the beauty of a scalable group program. And I'm a huge fan of not selling a cohort. Cohorts are the devil, because you go and say, right, I'm going to go do 4 cohorts a year. And I've got to go and spend the first quarter trying to sell one. I don't quite hit my number. So my cohort's short. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of kind of selling my soul to try and get people into it. Then I have to deliver, and then I go, oh God, I've got to go do that launch thing again. And I've got to go, and it's just like soul destroying, like up and down, up and down. It's so much better to be able to go, I just need to sell 1 or 2 people a week into this group program, and I can then give them a personalized onboarding. I can give them a really nice transition into it. They can join an experienced set of people already in the group, where there'll be people ahead of them that they can help, and there'll also be people coming in behind them where they can offer their experience to. And you can keep on making that group larger and larger and larger, because you use some strategic things like drop-in clinics, like step-by-step process where it's kind of they are in. It's a little bit like what we're talking about in Gethin. So he's got a staged process, a journey for his clients. So if you've got a journey for your group clients and you handhold them through that journey, and that's the premise of the group program, then people can join at any time and transition them through. So I'd say that's good. And if you're inside MDS, there is a whole training that outlines that for a coaching business. So it's the 3 C's: coaching, community, and coaching, clinic, and community. So having a coaching journey, having drop-in clinics, and having a community, and that's the product. So we'll help you with that. No worries. Right, guys. Well, look, I'm going to take 5 minutes, and then I'm going to be jumping back on this link for the MDS sprinters. So if you are a sprinter and you want to go hang out in the drop-in clinic, we're going to be starting that at 3 UK time. If you are a LinkedIn for Breakfaster, we'll either see you on the one-to-one session or we will see you at LinkedIn for Breakfast next week. And next week, September, sorry, you've probably seen it in the group. We're starting at 9 a.m. now. We're switching to 9 a.m. UK time in September. Back to school, back to 9 a.m.s. We definitely have seen that being a far more supported time by everybody at 9 a.m. first thing of the day for that.
There's no room to do it like 9:30 after I drop off somebody at school.
Unfortunately for Fort, we got nearly coming out to 5,000 people in the group. So
yeah, of course.
As much as I'd like to shape it around drop off time for you, Evie, I'm going to have to stick to the 9 a.m.
Yeah.
But I tend to find quite a few people will be able to kind of listen in maybe on the way home or something like that. Like it's all on
I'll be
Zoom.
late. That's okay.
You'll be grand. You'll be grand. We'll get the recording as well. And of course, I know there's people who that time doesn't work because of different time zones. So we'll also have the recording up for everyone. Okay, guys, big love.